Hi guys, welcome back to the RQ Studio and part 5 of my SQL Zero to Hero series. In today's lesson, we're moving into more powerful SQL concepts that help you write cleaner queries, reuse logic, and perform advanced analysis. So we'll be covering 4 important topics, namely subqueries, common table expressions, views, and Windows functions. They are widely used in real-world analytics, data engineering, reporting, and the likes, and I believe that mastering them will take your SQL skills to the next level. So let's dive right in. So we are going to be starting with subqueries, and I'm going to be making use of the dummy DB. DummyDB is the database that has some tables of data that I'll be using for this video. And the specific tables we are going to be making use of is the customer sample table and the order sample table. So let's preview those tables. Tables. So the customer sample has 4 rows. It has 3 columns, and that's the customer ID, customer name, and the country. The order sample table also has the order ID and has a customer ID in there and then the order amount. So you can see that customer ID is the unique identifier between the 2 tables, right? And so we are going to dive straight into making use of subqueries with this data set. So a lot of you might be wondering, what are subqueries? So subquery, simply put, is a query within a query. Do you get it? And this comes in handy when you start to write more complex SQL scripts. And I'm going to break down the various kinds or ways to make use of subqueries. So subqueries can be put in select statements. They can be put in the where clause and also in the from clause. So we are going to be looking at these 3 areas that subqueries can be put in and see how they work, starting with the select statements. So within select statements, subqueries are largely used when you want to perform some aggregation. So looking at the table, when we look at the orders table, realize that the orders table has an order amount column. And let's say we want to find the average of the order amount, the average order amount from the orders table. We would make use of this query. Select average. Then you put in order amount from order sample. And when you run this query, we realize that the average amount is 233, right? So now we are going to put this query in another query. So let's look at that. We're going to put this query in a select statement. So it now becomes select all from order sample, comma. So what I'm saying is I want to see everything in the orders table and a subquery, which is going to be in these brackets. And what I want to see in the subquery is this script right here. And we'll name this column AVG amount. Run. Right, and there you have it. We have written our first SQL query with a subquery in it. So as the name explains, the subquery, that is the query within it, gives us a column once used in the select statement, because usually the select statement is used to pull out all columns in a table, or specific columns, or aggregated columns. In this instance, it's an aggregated column. So that's how subqueries within the select statement works, and it comes in handy as you move forward in your SQL journey. The next thing we're going to be looking at is subqueries in the where clause. So I'm just going to write another SQL script. Select all from orders again, and then the condition where customer ID in. So from our preview, we identified that the customer ID is the unique identifier within the two tables, right? So I want to filter my data according to where the customer ID. I want to filter my table according to the country, where the country is Ghana, and the country column is found in the customer sample table. All right, so just look at how I write that. Select customer ID again from sample table where country equals Ghana. Right. And this is how it's going to look. Run it. And there you have it. So in our query, we have been able to filter out the orders table for specific orders where the country is Ghana, or orders for customers that are in Ghana. And that information we got in our subquery, it can only be taken from the customers table. And as you can see, it's working like a join, right? And so this is the power of subqueries and making use of it in the where clause. The next thing we're going to be looking at is subqueries in the from clause. But before we do that, I want us to create a summary table of the customer and orders, and then we'll put that in our from clause. So let's look at that. Summarize order and customer table by customer ID. So we're going to perform a join. Select from order sample as A, join customer sample as B on A.id equals B.id. And the columns I want to see are A dot customer ID, B dot, I want to see the customer name from the customer table, the country from the customer table, and then the sum of the order amount. So A dot order amount. And let's name this aggregation as sum of order amount. Group by So I'm going to run the script, and there you have it. So I've been able to create a join that gives me information on both tables. And well, for this video, for this query, it's an inner join, right? So I want to see both the customer information as against the order amount. So now Let's demonstrate how to put the subqueries in the from clause. So I'm just going to put this there, select from, and in the from, we're going to add a bracket, open, close brackets, and we are going to drop this script we have written in our from clause, and it's going to serve as our location. Let's name our location as summary table. And then state the columns we want to see. So I want to take customer name and sum of order amount from the table that we have created. So as you could see, the results from the summary table is what you can see here, and it includes the aggregated column. So right now, inputting this join in my from clause, I can pull out any column from that existing table here. So let me just run this script, and you see that the result is the same, just that in this instance I didn't want to see the other columns, the customer ID, customer name, and the likes, right? So that's basically how the subqueries in the from clause works, and it comes in handy a lot. With the from clause, you can pull out all columns or any column in the subquery that is in the from clause. However, with the where clause, you can only pull out one column at a time, right? And the next thing we are going to be looking at now is common table expressions, also known as CTEs, or CTEs for short. And common table expressions do exactly what subqueries does. However, the difference between common table expressions and subqueries is that common table expressions are temporal names, or you can give a temporal name to the query that you write. And this is a good practice because it improves readability, allows you to debug queries easier, and break down complex queries. So let's just demonstrate how a CTE would look like or be written. So we're going to name this table again summary table. So with summary underscore table as bracket open, I'm going to place all of this join we created, or this summary table we created, in here, and then after write my select statement. So select from summary table, and what I want from the table is a customer name and the order amount, sum of order amount. Run this script, and we get the exact same results. So the difference is the structure of the query as against the structure of a subquery. So that's the difference between common table expression, the manner in which the queries are written, where you put your subqueries. And with common table expressions, you can give temporal names to these queries such that when you run the queries by calling out the name in the from clause, you can easily pull out the columns. And this comes in handy when you're performing advanced analysis in SQL, right? So the next thing we are going to be looking at is views. So views works very similar to common table expressions and summary table. However, views allow you to create a virtual table, which is not temporal but permanent in your database. And if you look to the left hand side, it would fall under views once you create it. So let's just show how views look like. So start with create view. Let's name this view customer order table as, and I'm going to put this, I'm going to write a script for this, a join from joining the customer table, left join to the order sample table on a.customer ID equals b.customer ID. And what I want to see in the table is everything in the customer table and the order ID and the order amount as order amount. So if I'm to run just this query, it gives us a complete table showing everything in the customer table and data in the orders table, including the rows that exist in the orders or customers that have placed orders against customer that has not. Right. So this is the view we want to create. So if I'm to run this entire script, click execute, command completed successfully. And what has happened is that a view has been created. And so we can call out that view now. And the view's name is what? Customer order table. So select all from customer order table. Run that. And as you can see, we got the exact same results. Right. So that's how views work. And if I'm to refresh the dummy DB and click on views, you realize that the name of the table we just created now exists in the view folder on the left hand side. This can be deleted, but then what I want to add is that views create a permanent table in your database under the views column, right? So you need to be wary of whether to make use of views or subqueries depending on the best way you want to optimize your queries, reduce space, and if it is actually necessary to create a permanent table within the database, that's up to you. But it is a good practice to always optimize your queries so that they run faster. Yeah. And views, CTEs usually run faster, and views also come in handy. If, let's say, you want to visualize data in Power BI, views is a very good tool to make use of to create a table that has all the necessary columns that you need to perform your analysis in Power BI. So it's a good skill to have. So the next thing I want to show us is how to alter a view. Right? So alter view, and the view is customer order table. Put the name of the view there, customer as. You put the entire script there, and I want to add a condition where order amount is null. What I'm saying is I want to see the table for only customers that did not place an order. So I can run this query and it will show us customers that did not place an order. So therefore they don't have any order amount or order ID. When I run this, the view will be altered. And so therefore our customer table view will no longer have customers that have placed an order, as you can see there. So there you have it. That's how views work. That's how common table expressions work. That's how subqueries work in the select clause, in the select statements, the where clause, and the from clause. So we are going to be looking at Windows functions next.